I'm Jenna Miscavige. I was born and raised in Scientology. I left when I was 21 years old and wrote a book about it. My uncle, David Miscavige, is the leader of Scientology, and this is my YouTube channel. Hey guys, happy weekend. Hopefully I publish this on a weekend, otherwise this intro will be garbage. Anyways, there's something that's been on my mind, and I've been thinking about how to best communicate my feelings about it. And it's regarding former senior executives in Scientology. So people who are high-level executives in Scientology when I was there, and then who later left Scientology and are sort of speaking out about Scientology. Now, the most recent person to have done this, his name is Tom DeVock. Tom has actually been speaking out about the evils of Scientology for many, many years. But then he kind of went dark for a few years, and I'm very much assuming it's because he's a dad, and good on him for that. But recently he has come out with this movement called Indict David Miscavige. David Miscavige is a leader of Scientology. And on Tom's blog, he essentially says that all of the bad things that happen in Scientology are because of one man, David Miscavige, and the solution to this is to get him indicted and essentially in jail, and then all other problems with Scientology or whatever else will sort of take care of themselves as a result.
To educate people on how Scientology covers this stuff up, because you literally, it's
And
just
who's behind it?
exactly
One man.
Exactly. That's right. One man.
Now, I've voiced my opinion about this on another channel, but I want to also talk about it on my channel and go a little bit more in depth into it with the intention of really painting a picture for everybody what it was like and why I feel the way that I do. And then also, where do we go from there? All right, so I'm going to start out by explaining that in Scientology, there is an organization in Clearwater, Florida called FLAG. And this is Scientology's largest, most important, most money-making base. It has the most staff members there who've signed 1 billion year contracts dedicating themselves lifetime after lifetime of servitude to Scientology. Trainees come from all over the world to study how to deliver Scientology in their country. So FLAG is the most widely respected base in all of Scientology, and it's their biggest moneymaker by a long, long shot. Without the income that FLAG brings in, it would be hard for Scientology to even exist. Now, FLAG isn't just one Scientology organization. There's a bit of a hierarchy. And so there's what's called the FLAG Service Organization that delivers all of Scientology's courses and counseling. The main services and the main money is made from this organization. And then there's another organization which runs the hotels that people stay at when they get Scientology at this organization. Then above that, there is a small management organization. And then above that, there's another management organization, which is the highest level organization on the base. They are responsible for managing management and running programs into all other organizations on the base and overseeing basically everything about it. The head of that high level organization, and therefore the highest, most important, high-ranking person on that entire base, is called the commanding officer. The person who held that position is Tom DeVock. So we're not talking about some random executive somewhere. We're talking about the highest level individual on the highest level base in all of Scientology. That's a pretty big responsibility. Now, I'm going to say from the get-go, I don't want to badmouth Tom DeVock or any former leaders of Scientology. I actually like Tom. And honestly, I struggle with liking him and knowing the things that went on at the base when I was a child. I'm actually not really sure what to do with it myself personally. This video is not about me taking shots at former high-level executives who were in Scientology. It is about me being unwilling to slip back into the patterns and hierarchy that I was involved in when in Scientology. It is about me seeing it as a big red flag when former high-level executives come into the ex-Scientology sphere and present themselves as leaders of a certain cause. And the main point of their cause, the guiding principle of their cause, such as this indict David Miscavige, relies on the principle that everything that they did while in Scientology, that David Miscavige is to blame. And I know that that's not true. And I'm not just saying I know this isn't true as some far off spectator who doesn't even know these people. I know all of these people who are involved. I've known Tom DeVox since I was a child. I saw him nearly every day for years of my life. So this video is actually an effort to hopefully create some sort of understanding between my point of view, Tom's point of view, and the ex-Scientology community and their allies and ex-cult community, because this can of course happen in any similar community. It applies in so many more situations than just the ex-cult community. All right, so this is the picture that I want to paint. I would like you to imagine having your post being the commanding officer of essentially this entire base. And after lunch every day, coming to what's called a muster, which is a military style word for a meeting, where people would stand in lines. There were 7 divisions, and there would be a military style report. It would be Division 1 report, all present and accounted for, sir. Division 2 report, all present and accounted for, and so on. You, as the commanding officer, stand in front of this group. 90% of this group is comprised of minor children. I'm now going to read all of the names of the minors that were a part of this organization while I was there when Tom would stand in front of us as the commanding officer, face to face. Tina Fugan, Sarah Thomas, Francisca Beckett, Eva Ravel, Jessica Englehart, Sam Rodill, Leslie Warren, Alex Hellcamp, David Feshbach, Cyril Balmelli, Marcella Mirandin, Jillian Kuhn, Olivia Rock, Cece Fraser, Hoddle Whitaker, Levi Strube, Louisa Peterson, Claire Kitt, Missy Danilovich, Diane Rhodes, Nancy Pascal, Julia Taylor, Valeska Paris, Natalia Lobato, Ariella Coleman, Brittany Arnold, Ken Bosan, Gali Baram, Sarah Allen, Chantel O'Meara, Jason Medeiros, Mary Stubbe, Audrey Moxon, Ralph West, Jerry West, Amy Perro. Those are just the names I can remember. There's a few of them whose last names I didn't remember, so I didn't mention them. Imagine standing in front of this group, 90% minors, and giving them their orders for the day. As an adult man, none of these minors, none of them were living in a home with their parents. All of them called you sir. None of them are going to school during the week, and none of them are getting a diploma. All of these minors are either currently going through or have gone through a program, which is an initiation program to get into this high-level organization, where they basically are doing your, Tom's, and other executives of this organization's laundry every single day. They're cleaning your underwear, they're washing your shirts, while frankly, wearing dirty underwear themselves and dirty shirts themselves. They're cleaning your offices. They're putting cheese and crackers in your room so you can be well fed and have a nice snack while they are starving as growing young children because their last meal was at 6 p.m. and they are not allowed to go to sleep until basically midnight. And when they're done with all their duties, they leave a vote slip on your bed where you can essentially rank their performance. The ranking you give them determines whether or not they're allowed to have a day off that week or not. These kids have no summer off. They don't get to spend Christmas with their parents, no birthday parties, no tooth fairy for the 9-year-old, Cyril Balmelli. All of these kids are getting their mail intercepted before they're even allowed to read it. And they all, in order to have been a part of this organization, have had to fill out an extremely extensive report called their life history, where they're required to give the names of all of their family members, any credit card number or bank account they might have, as well as detailing any sexual experience they may have had. And they have to tell the truth on this, regardless of whether or not they want to, because their truthfulness will be verified using a Scientology e-meter, where they get an interrogation ensuring that they told everything. This information is then packaged up and sent through you for approval and other higher level executives at different bases. There is no regular doctor's appointments for these kids, and in order to have a day off, they have to get this approved through several executives and last of all, through you. Every day, these kids are subjected to uniform inspections, even though they're only given 2 shirts to wear for the entire week. And when they go home at 11:30 at night, they have to choose between sleeping and washing their shirt. So most of these kids are walking around in filthy clothes. Every week, these kids are required to clean their dorms and their offices to white glove inspection pass, meaning someone has to go through with a white glove, and if they see any dirt, then they flunk the inspection and they have to continue until they pass the inspection. Now, in general, it is expected that these kids would receive a $50 a week allowance. But the entire time I was there, everybody was on half pay. And depending on your position as a child, you were even on half of that. But we were required to buy our own underwear, our own socks, our own feminine products, our own shampoo and soap and toothpaste. We were required to use quarters to pay for our own laundry and dry cleaning. We were required to pay for our own food when we would get home at nearly midnight and we were starving, and so we would have to pay for food in the canteen. And this canteen seriously marked up their prices. On top of this, several dollars were taken out of our check nearly every week because it was the birthday of a senior executive in this high-level organization, and we were all required to donate in order to buy them a gift. We were also required and ordered to buy Scientology materials as they were released. This was not in all cases, but it happened often enough where it was a problem. Specifically, I remember there was a book in Scientology that was about this thick, and it was called Volume Zero, and we were all required to pay $70 in order to have our own. This was several weeks of pay. A good portion of these minors were separated from their own siblings. I was separated from my 2 brothers and was never able to develop a relationship with them. My point is that Tom was face to face with all of these minors every single day. And I'm only talking about the ones that were in this high-level organization. He would be faced with hundreds of other minors throughout the day. David Miscavige was not face to face with all of these minors every day, but Tom DeVocht was. David Miscavige would not recognize half of the names I read, but Tom DeVocht would. So do I think that it is commendable that Tom talks about the abuses that occurred to him and other former senior executives? Yes, I do. I think he's imparting really important information. But what I don't understand is why he doesn't talk about the things that he witnessed and was a part of day in and day out, every day in his position as the head of this base and as the leader of all of these minor children, including myself. Now, if you were to ask me if I thought that Tom thought that what he was doing was wrong at the time, the truthful answer would be no. I don't think that he knew that what he was doing was wrong. I don't think that he thought at the time that it was wrong to have minors be treated in this way. And I think it is because he was also treated that way as a child. And I have a ton of empathy for that. I will also say that Tom has been out of Scientology for nearly 20 years now. He is also a parent now himself, and both things give you plenty of time and opportunity to rethink everything you thought at that time and to see it for what it is. So while I very much empathize with Tom, very much, for the fact that he experienced a lot of this as a child himself, the truth is that in almost every case when someone is an abuser or a rapist, I'm not saying that that's what Tom is, they have also been abused and raped themselves. It's part of the cycle. Also, it is not an excuse. Using that as an excuse allows it to continue. So it's not personal. So it's not about placing blame. It's about taking responsibility, because taking responsibility is what will stop it from continuing. In my opinion, saying that everything went on there is directly because of David Miscavige and everything is his fault, and that the executives don't bear any responsibility for this is a huge mistake that allows current executives in Scientology to believe that they don't bear responsibility for the illegal things that they're doing. And that's not acceptable to me. That's not a movement that I can support. After I initially did a video about this on growing up in Scientology, Tom sort of did a retort on his blog where he likened us to telling him to confess his crimes to something that he experienced in Scientology. The truth is that this is a deflection and a manipulation, but I want to clarify. For me, it's not about Tom confessing to his crimes in a Scientological way. I look at this in a few ways. One is that Scientology is a criminal organization that systematically abuses children. Tom was a high-level executive. It is one thing for him to go to the FBI and to say, this happened to me, David Miscavige punched me in the face, etc., as a witness. It is another thing for him to go to the FBI and say, I confess as a senior high-level executive in Scientology that I trafficked all of these children and that I oversaw them being abused. This isn't about me wanting Tom to go to jail. I don't want him to go to jail. And I would very much hope that him doing this would be something that would get him immunity. But there is a difference between calling yourself a witness and actually giving a confession. Scientology could not possibly say that Tom DeVocht was not a high-level executive. They would never get away with saying that. So by admitting guilt, it is the same, in my opinion, as Scientology confessing to heinous crimes. Tom did these things as a high-level executive in Scientology. Just as an example, if a high-level member of an organization admits to sexually harassing a woman, if he admits to it and the organization didn't do anything to fix it, that organization is now liable for it. Same with Scientology. And I'm not going to pretend like I know all of the legal ins and out of this. I'm just saying that a confession as somebody who was a Scientology executive is a lot different than just a bunch of witnesses legally. Now, maybe for whatever reason, the FBI is not ready to prosecute this or something, who knows what their reasons are. The actual victims in this scenario are all of those minors, are all of the people who worked in that organization. Totally outside of the legal world of everything. There are many things that Tom could do to help alleviate the pain of some of these victims. When you're separated from your parent for the vast majority of your childhood, that pain doesn't just last for your childhood. It lasts for the rest of your life. Some people realize this in different ways or different times than other people. The point is that if you're making it your duty and your mission to blame somebody else for all of this, instead of saying, hey, guys, I want to give you some relief. I want to let you know that as a former high-level executive, I witnessed these things every day. I issued orders in order to make them happen. I saw you guys there every day, and I didn't realize it at the time, but you were all separated from your parents. I didn't even think of it at the time. But now that I know, now that I'm a parent myself, I can see how fucked up it was. And I am truly sorry for any part I had in this. I'm truly sorry that I didn't see it at the time, but now I do. And I want you to know that I understand what you've been through, that I'm here to be there for you. And I want to elevate your story in any way that I can. I want to help ease your pain in any way that I can. Whether that means just listening to you, whether that means creating a platform where you can speak about this, or if you just want to ask me questions to get a greater understanding, to get some closure. Maybe even, okay, now that I, Tom, realized that all of these things were actually horrendously abusive, maybe I can start a campaign to let other executives there who are currently in high-level positions know that they are mandated reporters so that the same thing doesn't occur over and over again. Maybe I can start an initiative for this. Maybe I can advocate for the people who I should have advocated for at the time. I feel like this would be the obvious response if it was somebody who actually felt remorse in that regard. And so I have to assume that he does not feel that. Now, I realize this didn't happen with every minor who was part of this organization, but Tom was my guardian. He was also the guardian of another boy called Ben Rinder. Ben would have headaches every single day, but instead of his guardian looking after him, I, another child, would try to give Ben Scientology assists in order to make his headaches go away, which was completely fruitless. As my guardian, Tom watched me get held down when I was not allowed to call my own parents. Tom watched this happen and orchestrated this event. Tom saw that I was being regularly interrogated. In fact, when I was done with one interrogation, when a report was written on everything that came up with these interrogations, Tom was tasked at least once with confronting me about these things and creating a program for me where I would make amends for all of these transgressions, which really just involved kissing a boy, not working flat out 40 hours a week, maybe talking to my friend when I should have been studying. All things that were completely normal, weren't bad, that I did, that I was being made to feel horrible for. Tom was a part of enforcing that on me. Tom, as my guardian, came and picked me up from the bathroom I was cleaning for months on end in order to get an ID so that I could be shipped off to Mexico with my parents when they left Scientology. These aren't small things, and just because you're smiling or seem cool, calm, and collected when you're doing them or are an easygoing, likable person, it doesn't take away from the fact that they actually happened and that you were a part of them. I'm not somebody who doesn't know Tom. I'm not somebody who had nothing to do with him. I'm somebody who knew him very well. I'm somebody who witnessed him nearly every day. Former high-level executives coming out of Scientology and trying to start a movement is a huge red flag. Imagine if it was Gilead, if you guys have watched The Handmaid's Tale, and there's like a mass exodus of children and women who were abused when they were there. Imagine if all of those men were like, it was really hard for us too. Okay, yes, there is validity to that, but those people were also perpetrators. They were also benefiting from all of the other women and children being victimized. That's just an analogy which really only works if you've seen The Handmaid's Tale. So I don't have the power or authority to tell anybody what to do. And I can't tell people what to think, but I can share my experience and my opinion that results from that experience. And I genuinely hope that Tom sees this and that instead of being defensive and feeling like this is an attack, I would like him to look at it and see how much of it is true. And if he wants to understand it better or talk further about it, with me, then I am more than happy to. Give me a call. But I wanted to put a video out there making it clear that it's not about asking former high-level executives to confess their crimes, just like we were told in Scientology. No, it's about not wanting to repeat past mistakes, of investing in somebody as a leader who has not actually seen that the things they've done in the past were wrong, or even who has potentially not even seen that they've done things in the past. Because if they do not see these things, then they have no reason to change. They have no reason to behave differently. And that is of concern to me as somebody who was greatly affected by their past actions. I hope this makes sense and brings a little bit of clarity. This isn't a declaration of war or wanting there to be a fight or drama or awkwardness. The truth is that this is something that's going on in the sphere of ex-Scientology, and this is my platform and my channel where if he's publishing things publicly, then I'm going to exercise my right to publish my opinion on it publicly. I think that my commentary is important. I think that some of it serves as a public service announcement, but it's really truly not intended to trash Tom or to be hurtful towards him. There are many things about him that I really do respect. I regret staying quiet in past years about certain other individuals that I was concerned about that wound up behaving in ways that they did in Scientology, and it wound up becoming a big problem. And so I'm not wanting to make that mistake again. And so that's why I'm making this video. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening, and thank you for your support. And maybe let me know what you think about this in the comments. I'm interested to hear. All right, you guys, have a beautiful, relaxing rest of your day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.